Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to you on this fantastic Wednesday. We are in the midst of a sixth day of a rally as far as the Nifty is concerned. Now consolidating well above 25,150, 70 points higher. Nifty Bank is also in the green, driven by private sector banks, including IndusInd and ICICI Bank, 77 points higher. And Nifty IT is resting a bit after yesterday's 600-point jump on the green side. Overall, the situation in the market is quietly positive. Even on the sixth day of the rally, you have 1,740 shares in the green compared with 732 in the red. We tracked 19 indices for you, 16 are in the green. Today the rally is led by the energy space, in particular OMCs like HPCL, BPCL, IOC, refineries like Chennai Petroleum, and of course strength coming in all those sectors that are dependent on interest rates. So a cut by the RBI in borrowing costs is the reason why you see the Nifty Auto Index 0.5% higher. You see the Nifty Realty Index again 0.5% higher. They have been building on to gains that we've seen in the last 2 or 3 sessions. What else is in top form? Let me just introduce some names which have hit all-time highs. You have Deepak Fertilizer 2.7% higher. From the software space, mid-cap stock Intellect Design is 1.8% higher. Pharma is in top shape. Iris Life Sciences, Divi's Lab doing phenomenally well in trade, as also are Gillette and MFSL. So this is the status as far as markets are concerned. Quiet today, but lots and lots of small cap stocks are in top form. We are now joined by our very dear friend Mr. Sharad Avasthi, Head of Research for the Private Client Group at SMIFS. Namaste Sharadji, a very warm welcome to you, sir. I'll request the PCR meanwhile to fire the long-term chart of the Nifty. Sharadji, from a low of about 21,900 in early April, the Nifty has now moved up to 25,200 almost. That's a 15% rally in a span of 3 months. Is this still a buyer's market?
Thank you, sir. I think, yeah, it will continue to be a buyer's market. Even if you look at data across the board, we are still the fastest growing economy. Lower interest rate trajectory should be positive for emerging markets, and inflation most probably is under control. I think once the turbulence regarding, trade tariffs, etc., dies down over the next 15-20 days, there is a high probability that we would in sync with the global markets rally further higher. Quarterly results have been positive. We are expecting urban consumption to also catch up along with rural consumption over the next 2-3 quarters. Rural consumption is showing very good strength. I think once urban consumption also starts contributing, largely because of the tax breaks, etc., which should be visible in next quarter numbers and fast-moving data over the next month or two as it comes out. I think there is high probability that we would continue to go higher. BFSI is a major sector that's there. That relaxation should also play out. So most BFSI should do very well. We have been talking about treasury gains, possibly bulking up profit numbers of banks as well. So I think all in all, barring the NIM issue, some people thought that NIM issue and banks and NBFCs. But I think when you have credit growth and credit cost under control, that is the primary trigger for a BFSI, and I think that should continue to do very well. So big sector like a BFSI should do very well. I was reading one report by some agency. I think what they're telling is that capex over the next 5 years across India is more or less double what it was. Is expected to be double of what it was over the last 5 years. So I think capex capital cycle will also be positive. So all in all, I think these 3-4 things should be very positive. And I think the tariff is the only issue right now holding markets back. Once that goes out of the way, I think we could see a very sharp improvement in Indian markets.
Okay. Sharadji, because you track corporate India so well and in such great detail, this 50 basis point cut in the repo and a surprise 100 basis point cut in the CRR put together, how will this translate into higher earnings as far as corporate India is concerned? Would you by any chance raise the EPS estimate of the Nifty?
I think plainly on the basis of this cut, I would not want to raise the earnings estimate much because there are so many moving parts at this point in time with respect to various parameters, and we are not in a situation where the larger companies are over leveraged. So even if you, as I was talking about the capex cycle over the next 5 years, in spite of that capex cycle being steep, there is very little expectation that there will be too much leverage on the balance sheets. It will be very much under control. So I think leverage is not something that we are very bent on in the current scenario across the larger corporates. So lower interest rates, yeah, marginally your working capital requirements, etc., come down, so that helps you. But I think working capital interest rate, etc., comes down. But since the leverage across the board is not very high in the system, I think it's largely more of a consumption boost and more of a retail lending boost, which would indirectly support earnings rather than interest rates being lower directly supporting earnings.
I think that's very well explained because Indian balance sheets are light as far as overall debt is concerned. So, reduction in interest rates may not be that much beneficial, but they will impact buying, consumer buying very positively. And perhaps that's one reason, Sharadji, why we have a strong rally in the real estate space. Does the PCG team at SMIFS have some favorites at real estate space?
Sure, sir. I think long term we are very bullish on real estate. I have echoed that thought many times on your channel, also on other channels. Also, I think we are very bullish on long term real estate based on urbanization and per capita incomes. And in the medium to long term, maybe 1.5 2 years, the larger names might not offer you much upside. But I think Oberoi probably is a good bet at these valuations on among the larger players. And among the smaller players, I think the likes of Shriram Properties, Signature Global, Rustomji, Keystone Realtors. I think these are some names that we are looking at where growth could be very stupendous over the next, 1 or 2 years. And once those numbers start rolling in, I think these stocks could be in for a very strong re-rating. So these are the few names we are focusing on.
Interesting, you mentioned Shriram Properties. That's a low ticket item, and of course, belonging to one of the cleanest balance sheets and groups with great corporate standing, South India. Sharadji, how are you now analyzing the banking space? Private sector banks have run up sharply. Record highs are seen in HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, to some extent, even Axis and Kotak are now running up. Frontline NBFCs are doing well, Bajaj and Shriram in particular. Is there a mid-cap stock in the banking and the NBFC space that you like?
Typically within the mid-cap space, I think within banking, you could be looking at something like a Bandhan Bank. After a long time, I think most probably the microfinance and the MSME issues are behind us. The management bandwidth issue has been resolved now with this acquisition, etc., and induction of new people on board. So I think Bandhan could be one idea that you could look at. Means initially we are working with targets of around 275, and once the ball starts rolling and improving, that could be substantial improvement from here. Within the gold finance companies, I think Mannapuram is a good bet to have. Muthoot looks a bit expensive to me at these valuations, 4-5 times price to book. I don't think much is left on the table. Shriram, I think, is okay kind of valuation, 2.53 times price to book. But the likes of Chola, Bajaj, I think they are fairly to fully valued. Though Bajaj numbers could see a bit of uptick, because of the consumer durable demand pick that we have been talking about. So if that does translate into more lending for them also, I think that's a fast moving churn business. That could help Bajaj Finance even more. But there's been a rally from the lower level. So I don't know from here how much more it can sustain on the upside. And so I'm not comfortable with the likes of Bajaj and Chola at these valuations, but maybe something like an L&T Finance could do very well with retail lending, etc. AB Capital with the block deals today is something that could be a very strong re-rating candidate. So these are some of the names we are very bullish on. I think Mannapuram could also be a very good addition to that list. And the small finance banks, the likes of, Ujjivan, ESAF, I think they could also benefit substantially. But if you need to pick one, I think Bandhan remains a core addition that could be added to your portfolio.
Right. I think this is a very sensible choice of stocks. Let me repeat. Mannapuram from the gold financing NBFC space. AB Capital, there was just a transaction that happened 2 or 3 days ago on AB Capital. L&T Finance, both of these are low ticket items which really haven't created much value over the last 3-4 years. So these are good hunting grounds for value buyers, and of course the best one that we know is conversing with us, Sharadji. Let's take this argument a little further, Sharadji, and now start dipping into the derivatives of interest rates, where a cut in rates is helpful for sales as well as profit and profitability. Now, in the fourth quarter earnings that just went by, where do you think will this cut in interest rates be the most beneficial in companies such in sectors such as autos?
So my thinking is that two-wheelers probably could be a very big beneficiary out of this. Since we are seeing a revival in rural consumption, monsoons are more or less in time and properly spread out. If they are properly spread out, that is something we'll speculate over the next 2.5 months. Most probably they will be. So I think monsoons being timely, two-wheelers are in a positive frame of mind. We have spoken about the income tax rate cuts. I think that's also very positive for two-wheeler buyers, and the type of focus we see from fast delivery or your speed delivery of 10 minutes, etc. Blinkit is coming, Rapido is expanding. So I think all these should augur very well for the two-wheeler companies, and my preferred choice would be Hero MotoCorp there, followed by Bajaj Auto. TVS, I don't think they've done a fair bit of work with, the likes of Jupiter, the bike, and then this new Cube. They have the first mover advantage. But at these valuations, I don't feel very comfortable buying into a TVS. But I think Bajaj Auto for around 9,500, 9,600. Though the recent quarter was a bit of a disappointment, we lowered our targets. But I think long term it should continue to do very well. And Hero MotoCorp obviously remains the best pick for targets of around 5,500, 5,600 to start with. The new low priced Vida launch, the Harley Davidson tie up. And the best part is that they started this deviation from the R&D of Honda around 2017, and generally the cycle is 7 to 8 years when research starts paying off. So I think now most probably the products that come out of the Hero stable will actually showcase the type of R&D improvements they have been able to bring in with their own R&D. So I'm expecting the new launches to create a lot of buzz. So Hero MotoCorp certainly. So two-wheelers is the space I'm looking at. I think that's going to be a very interesting space. On the auto ancillary space, I think somewhat like a Samvardhan Motherson would still be good for, another 30-40 bucks, maybe 180, 190 kind of targets. They are talking about a recent acquisition. How it plays out, we need to see. But I think it's been a steady company. They've grown leaps and bounds over the last, 10-15 years. So Motherson is something I'm very comfortable. I think 180, 190 could be the fair value for that stock as well.
Sharadji, this is more a hope question. I'm hoping that you would respond with an answer which makes practical sense. The Anil Ambani group of stocks are back in focus. We see them buzzing on top gainers, top volume lists. Even today, Reliance Power is the top traded counter on the NSE. So was it yesterday. Are you as a value buyer, are you witnessing some underlying positive change in these companies, Reliance Power and Reliance Infra in particular?
So Reliance Infra, I think, had a lot of announcements which are faring very well for them, where it's the arbitral awards or something. It's something or the other that keeps coming in. The type of turnaround, the murmurs that we hear on the ground are something very substantial, that maybe the management finally is waking up to not just doing lip service and actually working on the ground. They've gone through a very grinding space. So I think to outrightly say, means pass out a negative comment would be very easy because they've gone through a very tough time. But I think the younger generation is taking in, and the type of improvement on the ground, what feedback we are getting is very strong. So in terms of numbers, I'm not very sure what numbers they're going to post because I've not seen in detail because of obvious reasons. But I certainly think that they should. I think the younger generation is doing a good job till now, and the feedback from the field is that people are very positive about the way they are taking it up. We would wait for some numbers, more confirmation, maybe if we go through some management meets, etc., and then we form a view. But I think I'll continue with a neutral stand rather than give an opinion of buy or sell on these ideas. I think, yeah, beaten down stories. There could be a lot of turnaround. It's a strong group in terms of the mindset, that the way they come back into place. So I think going ahead, there could be some turnarounds. Keep a close watch on the numbers, etc. Don't just buy stories. I don't have exact details or too much details about these companies. Maybe I have some shares of Reliance Power since the IPO, but I really don't have much idea. So I think, yeah, on the ground, what we are hearing is that there could be some very positive developments, particularly on Reliance Infra. Our power also could turn around very substantially. So do your homework. I think I'm not in a position to give a positive or negative comment on these stocks.
Were you in college when R Power IPO came?
No, no, sir. I was very much working.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता.
सर 2008 में कॉलेज में कैसे हो सकता हूँ सर? इतने साल फेल नहीं हुआ मैं.
Acha. The other disappointment, Sharadji, has been this dismal performance that's coming in from frontline companies, Infosys, TCS. They are not even growing at nominal GDP growth rates. What does one do of stocks which are there in long term portfolios over decades? Underperformance is now reaching epic proportions.
Sir, I think beyond 2008, that was a phase when they clocked into this 15% kind of annualized growth. Now with this businesses maturing, the growth rates are further going down, and we know that the amount of disruption IT is seeing with AI, etc., is humongous. There will be challenges, but when I look at the Indian IT players, I think over the last 3-4 years, there's a lot of change in the way they look at business. They have all started focusing on consultancy. They're all working in tandem with what's happening globally. Earlier, we had a tendency that we were, working on recent trends with a 4-5 year lag to global players like Accenture or something. But nowadays, it's changed. They are adopting it very fast. If you look at most of the IT companies, they have a ready module for AI, etc. They're already working on it. And I think the big leap will come from the consultancy belt that they have been building on. Yeah, it's a slow moving process. It's an expensive wing to set up. But I think it would largely support their ancillary businesses, the rest of the business verticals as well. So I think these are very good moves made by Indian IT companies. Right now, the expectations are that AI would eat into, but what we understand is that maybe in the initial phase, there would be a lot of work for AI integration. If they can gather work on those fields, I think they could substantially improve. And by that time, when they finish this AI integration, when the actual billing hours can come down, etc. I think if the consultancy businesses ramp up the way they are looking at it, I think it could be very interesting. So at these valuations, I would say even the likes of Infosys, TCS, Wipro, certainly. I think these are not very expensive ideas we are talking about, but these are fairly squarely valued kind of ideas. And next quarter onwards, I think the forward outlook will be very positive. This quarter, it was very dim because we were at the peak of the trade talks when the quarterly results and con call, etc. happened. So I think next quarter onwards, we will have much more stable outlook regarding what they are looking at and how they plan to look into the future. So at these valuations, I think one should make a staggered bet to get into these companies. Yeah, right now, as you rightly pointed out, the growth rates might look a bit dismal. But in the long term, I think the consultancy business and the AI integration in the short to medium term should help these companies stay afloat better than expected, I think. And next quarter onwards, I think there is a high probability that a lot of the earnings could receive some upward revision across the board. Tech Mahindra LTIM on the basis of improvement in forward numbers, because the integration benefits LTIM hasn't seen yet. Tech Mahindra new management growth for the BFSI segment could be very strong for them, which is very small right now. So I think these are two companies where there are such triggers, and the front lines, I think, just continue to hold them, maybe add them in a staggered way in case you get a dip. But I think long term, these are good stories to hold on. You should not be very worried about it.
Sharadji, on that very optimistic note, let's call it a day. As always, it's such a pleasure to speak to you and hear your views, and we'll stay with the ones that have come in from NBFCs, especially AB Capital, L&T Finance, and of course the gold financing company Mannapuram. Thank you for your time, sir.
Yes.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was Sharad Avasthi, the head of research for the private client group at SMIFS. Stay glued to Business Today Television. There's a lot that's happening on the other side of the break. Lots more news coming in for you in a market that is up for the 6th day in a row.
I think it was a very good visit. We were all very pleased with the way in which the 5 countries we went to received us. We thought we had good results everywhere, high quality meetings, presidents, prime ministers, vice presidents,